Hi, Tim here from World of Sleuths, and I know it's been a while since I've really had a book related video put up here. Sorry about that. I have been around, I have been reading. It's just that with my migraines, they've been taking me took me off one, had me face off of one medicine, and then I ran out of the other migraine medicine I had, and I had to when I went to reorder some, I found out I didn't have any refills left, so I had to call my neurologist to get those to get her to give me order more refills or approve more refills, and had to wait for them to get here in the mail. But now I'm doing better because since I have those back and stuff. So, but like I said, I've been reading. I finished 7 books in April. The first one is 6 Seconds by Rick Mofina. I was reading it for my time prompt in March Mystery Madness. I started in March, and it's a longer book. It's like it's 474 pages, or 472 pages. The book is. I'll read on I didn't get my review written yet because it's been harder writing my reviews because, especially if I'm doing more than one, because at a time in a day, because with my migraines and stuff. But I'll read what it says on the back of the book to give you a better feeling of what it's like. Eventual woman who begs for her place in paradise. In Iraq, an aid worker who lost her husband and child in a brutal attack saves the life of an American contractor. Believing he can help her avenge her family's deaths, she follows him back to the United States. An anguished mother desperate to find her child. In California, the soccer mom arrives to pick up her son from school, only to discover that her husband has taken their child and vanished without a trace. A detective who needs to redeem himself. In the Rocky Mountains, an off-duty cop rescues a little girl from a raging river moments before she utters her final words in his arms. Haunted by failure, he launches an investigation that leads him to a Montana school where time is ticking down on an event that will rewrite history. 3 strangers entangled in a plot to change the world in only 6 seconds. Uh, I rated that book 5 stars. It it's the first book that I've written by Rick Mofina, and I really enjoyed it. So I know I'll be reading more. I know I have another one of his books on my shelf. The other one is Deliverance from Evil by David Baldacci. This is in the uh, uh, shoot, Katie, shoot, it's Aisha, and or the Shaw series. This is in the Shaw series, and Aisha, just A has just an initial for his first name. He doesn't really say what his first name is, but he's this is the second book in the series. There's only 2 books in the series right now, but he works for a secret government agency that goes and captures some of these villains and crooks that slip out of that have the money and resources to slip away from uh, going to appearing in court, like the criminal courts and stuff. And Shock goes out and captures them where they can detain them until they appear in court. And and I rated it. And this one, and then this one, he's going after one where that they know was arms dealer to various third world countries and stuff, and they're trying to capture him. Where, but unknown to them, there's another independent private agency that's out to come because of stuff that they know of him that the group that Shaw works for doesn't know. And so it gets real interesting. Most of it takes place in France, but then some takes place in England, the United States, and Canada. And I give it a rating of 4 stars. Okay, then there's so that's actually that's then there's then there's 5 more books I finished. 3 of them are on my Kindle. The first one is Moonrock, which was part of my, which was for my space prompt for March Mystery Madness. I finished this on April 1st, the day after the end of March Mystery Madness. And I did get a review written for it. I'll leave a link to it down below. And I gave it a rating of 4 stars. And then the other 2 I finished off with is the Rover Boys in the Air, which is, if I remember right, the 16th book in the first Rover Boys series, and Strange Disappearance, which is the second book in the A. Gray series by in the Mr. Gray series by Anna Catherine Green. Okay, at my look, I finished in April The Secret Adversary by Agatha Christie. It's the first book in the Tommy and Tuppence series, which I thoroughly enjoyed. I think I wrote a review for that already too, and I'll post the link for that down below too. And the other book I finished is The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, first book in the Wizard of Oz series. This was a reread for me. I gave it a rating of 4. I'll tell you, it's a lot different than the movie. Okay, then what I'm currently reading now, there's, okay, the first one, for physical books, the first one I started earlier this year, and I haven't finished yet, but I'm getting there. This is Jimmy Buffett, A Saudi Piece of Land. Let's see, I'm just over 200 pages into it. It takes place like in Mexico, and I think an island in the Bahamas, but he also it's following a Morris Tully, who was a cowboy from Wyoming. He was a fishing guide there and stuff, but he lived on his parents' ranch. But after his father's death, they pretty much had to sell it, or after his parents' death. Well, his mother died when he was young, or something like that. And after his father died, he didn't have the money for keeping up the ranch, so pretty much had to sell it. And the lady that bought it, or like a corporation, he didn't get along with her too well. She had tired him on doing some stuff, and he ended up throwing like a church or a plate glass window, and so she sent the law out after him, and she was buddies with him, and like that, or whoever, and it got a warrant out for his arrest. So he skipped off to Mexico, and then where he becomes a fishing guide uh, in an area there and stuff, and can't remember the part of Mexico that he's in. It's like kind of like, I think it's on like a peninsula or something. I can't remember, on the Gulf or by the Gulf. And well, anyway, then an older eccentric rich lady shows up on a yacht, and she hires him to go with her to repair a lighthouse that she has on an island she owns, and so and that's about where I'm at in the book right now. And the other physical book I'm reading is The Concrete Wand by Michael Connelly. It's and it's the third book in the Harry Bosch series. And I'm not going to say too much about it, and I'm only 100 pages into it, so I don't want to spoil anything in it, so I'll just leave it at that right now, that it's a third book in the Harry Bosch series. Then, looking at my nook, I'm reading the Rover Boys in New York, which is the 17th Rover Boys book. In the first Rover Boys series, out of the 20 in the first series. And on the Kindle, I'm reading Murder on the Links by Agatha Christie. And then what I'll be reading after coming up after I finish them for our physical books, Hostage by Robert Craze. It's a standalone novel by him. He's guy that writes Elvis Cole, Joe Pike series. And Barrier Island by John D. McDonald. This is a standalone novel, and for those who don't know, he's the guy that wrote the Travis McGee books. And coming up, so up next for the Kindle is the Sword of Damocles by Anna Catherine Green, the third in the Anna Catherine of the Mr. Gray series by Anna Catherine Green. And on the nut, the Marvelous Land of Oz, the second in the Wizard of Oz series. And now I also did a couple of book calls back in April. And so let me get the books up here. Okay, so I'll start showing the books in no particular order. First up off, I got John Grisham, The Client. See, I've read his first book, A Time to Kill, and I've just been slowly picking up his books. I don't even know what it's about. I know it's a legal thriller. Next one is Nelson DeMille, by the Rivers of Babylon. I don't really know what this one's about, but I've read that the book Cathedral, which I later found out this is a series which I really enjoyed. At the time, I thought it was a standalone. Harlan Coben, Runaway. I read one of his books 2 or 3 years ago. Michael Connelly, The Fifth Witness. This is in the Lincoln Lawyer series. Dan Brown, The Lost Symbol. I've read a couple of his standalone novels, and this is the third book in the Angels and Demons and the Da Vinci Code series. So this is the third book in this series. Fourth book I have, which is, I think it's Inferno, and I don't have the last book in it, which is Origin. And then the last book I got there at that Salvation Army thrift store is Echo Burning, which is by Lee Child, which is in the Jack Reacher series. In the getting the next one, the following day, my wife and I went to Goodwill up in Wisconsin, in a town up in Wisconsin that we like to go up to, and I got the number of books there, even more books there. The first book is, you noticed that the other Lee Child, The Midnight Line, which is in the Jack Reacher series. And yet another Jack Reacher book by Lee Child, The Blue Moon. And then the last of the Jack Reacher ones I got from them is The Hard Way by Lee Child. Okay, this one I didn't even notice the author's name when I picked it up. I just know it's Robert B. Parker on there, so I figured it was by him. It's Robert B. Parker's Blood Feud. It's written by Michael Lupica. I'm not sure if it's on that Robert B. Parker had started right and or outlined, and then Michael Lupica finished it, or what. Okay, John Sanford, Hidden Prey. I haven't read any of his books yet. I do have a number of them, and back during March Mystery Madness, I read the book Thrillers, which is short stories where two thriller authors teamed up to write each one a man and a woman, and John Sanford wasn't from the Prey series, but his other series, the Virtual Flower ones, was one of the authors that co-wrote her story. Next one is Robert Craze, The Last Detective. It's in the Elvis Colville Pike series. And this next one is one that I used to have years ago that I read, and I want to read them again, and I'd started before, and I noticed that this book was missing from it that time around. And I got then before we moved to our last apartment, since it was a smaller apartment, I downsized in my books and just kept like my Jack Ryan books by Tom Clancy. But now I found this book again. I have the first two also in the series, but this is the Majors, which is the third book in the Brotherhood of War series by W.E.B. Griffin. And last one I got, it's an author that my sister had recommended to me. This is Long Range by C.J. Box. It's in the Joel Pickett novel. C.J. Box was another one of the authors that wrote for that Thrillers book. And also or not thrillers. It was called. It was called. Uh, was it? Yeah, it's Matchup is the name of it, not Thriller. Matchup. Well, I'm sorry about that being so long in between the videos, but and this being a little longer, but that's all I have for you for this time. So until next time, take it easy and keep on reading.